Welcome to All Can, No Can't, the podcast where we toss out excuses, face our fears, and reclaim control. I'm Jeff Luther, your guide to mastering the chaos and turning obstacles into opportunities. Whether you're an entrepreneur navigating the ups and the downs of building a successful business or someone ready to rewrite the rules of your life, this is your space to grow, to push boundaries, and to embrace doing the hard shit that leads to greatness. Together, we'll explore stories of resilience, strategies for overcoming, and the mindset shifts that let you build a life on your terms. I use my experience with a life-altering diagnosis to help you find the can in every can't. So buckle up, because it's time to stop living in can't and start thriving in all can. You choose. Welcome back to the All Can, No Can't podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Luther, and this is where we turn obstacles into opportunities. And we've got a really fun guest with us today that we're going to chat for a little bit about mentorship. Deborah Heiser has a PhD in applied developmental psychology. She's a TEDx speaker, a consultant, an author, and founder of the Mentor Project. She's also written a book on the same topic. Deborah has additionally authored peer-reviewed articles, is co-editor of Spiritual Assessment, and interviewed with older adults, and a frequent expert guest for syndicated and local talk radio shows, international and local podcasts, and print and online media outlets. Deborah, thank you so much for carving out some time to chat with me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on your show. I'm delighted to be here.
Awesome. So mentorship, this is your life is kind of around mentorship. Like, you probably spend a lot of time connecting people, or trying to, at least. Is it tough?
No, actually, it's not. And it organically happened just because it's not hard to connect people. That's kind of a surprise it was a surprise to me and a surprise to many others who, I guess, not all of us looked at the power of connection and how we all like to be connected.
Yeah. And mentoring is fun. Like, it's fun to be the mentee, right? But the mentor is tough. It can be, right? Well, one, I think we touched a little bit about this, is, what I have to say is not valuable enough. I don't have anything
Yeah,
to offer anybody.
that's what a
You
lot
know?
of people say.
Yeah. So, do you ever have a tough time convincing folks of that?
You know, I'll tell you that there are a lot of people who say, I want to mentor, and they give back because we're built to do that. Developmentally, it's a milestone within us where we want to give back. So people will say, I would love to give back, but I just don't know what to give back. And because I'm not an expert in anything, and people think you have to have a professional title. Like, I'm not a
Yeah.
lawyer, I'm not a doctor. How can I possibly give back? But I try to explain to people that the people who've mentored from the past were not doctors and lawyers. The biggest thing that we have for centuries is our religions. If you look at anything faith-based, it's been around for centuries. And how did that get passed down? Mentorship.
Right.
Any of our traditions, our values, those sorts of things. So if you hold a belief in any of those, or you've gone through that, yeah, you can mentor. And most people say, oh, really? But mentorship sort of got hijacked by corporate America. So we all think of it as the way for a mentee to get a better job.
Yeah.
And they forget about the mentor and what impact that leaves for the mentor and how they're involved. That's kind of a nameless, faceless individual out there that we don't give much thought to. So anyone can mentor, and everyone has mentored at some point in their life.
Whether they want to believe they have or not, they have. Yeah. So I look at mentorship. Like, one of the things that I do is, I'm in an entrepreneurs organization, and for your business has to qualify at a certain level to be in the organization. And businesses that don't, they can come into what's called an accelerator group. The idea is to accelerate them to that minimum requirement. and we have coaches. So I coach these other businesses, and it's one of the funnest things that I do. But if someone came to me and said, "Can you be a business coach?" I'd be like, "Hell no. No, I don't know anything about it. No, I don't know that." But I can experience share, and that's what I enjoy. So would you relate being a mentor to experience share?
That's what it is. Yeah. When we hold an expertise, we are, and we give that to somebody. That's what mentorship is. If I were to define mentorship to tell you what
Yeah.
it is a mentor who is feeling generative, right? And generative means I want to take something in me and give it to you. So you are an entrepreneur expert. If you wanted to give your wisdom and how you do what you do so well to someone else, that's generating a little bit of your knowledge into somebody else. Now, that other person has to want it. So if you said, "Hey, I want to generate my entrepreneurship in widgets," to someone who says, "I hate widgets," that's not going to be mentorship. You also have to want to intrinsically be motivated to do this. So if you're getting
Okay.
paid, you're not a mentor. You're a coach, you're an advisor, you're something else, but you're not a mentor. And that is a big distinction because, the two motivators are very different for us. The third, and I'll give you an example of that. If I were to say to you, "Hey, Jeff, would you like to volunteer your time at a soup kitchen?" You might say to me, "Yeah, you know what? I really feel good when I do that. I'd like to go do that." And if you were on your way driving to the soup kitchen to go give your time and energy and yourself for that event that made you feel so good, and I said, "You know what? Hey, Jeff, turn left, go volunteer your time at Starbucks instead." That would feel very different. You're giving out food and beverage, same exact kind of thing. People are hungry and thirsty. They want to get stuff. But that's how it feels to a mentor who is being asked to do something in an extrinsically motivated environment
Yeah.
and be doing an intrinsically motivated activity. If you go to Starbucks and volunteer your time, you feel sort of like a chump. Everybody else is getting paid and I'm not.
Right.
So that's the difference. So coaches have a goal that's usually business focused, and that's an extrinsically motivated um, journey there.
Yeah.
Mentoring is emotional. It is you having a bond with somebody else and looking
Right.
to see that they get somewhere like you would when you feel so emotionally gratified when you help somebody. The next thing is you have to have a meaningful connection. If I were to say, "Hey, Jeff, I'd love to get mentored by you," and you're like, "Ew, I don't like Debbie. I'm not going to mentor her," or
I would
I
never
really,
say that, Debbie.
if I have to, ooh, and that happens. And that's why when people pass us by, we are not friends with every single person. They may be wonderful people, but does that mean that we're their friend? Maybe we just are like, I don't know. I don't want to be friends with that person." You have to have a meaningful connection. You have to feel as the mentor like you are so excited about that person's journey to get where they want to go that you feel like you're on that journey. And that mentee has to feel like, "You know what? I really like this person. I'm going to take their guidance because this is my life. I want it to go in the right direction." So it has to be a meaningful connection. And then this relates to it. You have to trust the person. And you would
Oh.
understand this as an entrepreneur. Imagine if you're a mentor to someone and you don't trust them. You might think they're going to run away with my idea and start their own company. I'm going to tell them the secrets that I have and they're going to run away with that. That's not mentorship. That's you don't trust that person. Likewise, if you're a mentee and you feel like I'm going to tell all my secrets to this person, my vulnerabilities that I don't know something and they're going to judge me now and they're going to throw me under the bus somehow, whether that's not giving you a raise or they're going to tell everybody in the community and then they don't want to work with you, whatever. I've seen all of that. And finally, there has to be a goal that can be a one off or it can be a winding, long goal. So that's really it in a nutshell. It has those ingredients to it with mentorship, and they're all emotional as opposed to, something that is, just a purpose driven. Let me get this task done. It's not task
Yeah.
focused. It's emotion focused.
Yeah. So the exchange I think, as you put it, the exchange that you'd be looking for to be a successful mentor is not something extrinsic. It's something like fulfillment, meaningful.
Yes.
And then I'm an excellent student, aren't I? I'm picking this up quick. Um, and then, like, in order for it to be successful, there has to be a connection between the two, the mentor and the mentee. So it is complex. You said it's easy. This is complex.
No, it's easy. It's the same as, does anybody say being a friend is hard? But there's stuff to being a friend. Do you go like steal your friend's, candy? No. There are certain unwritten things that you just don't do. You don't throw your friend under the bus. You trust
Right.
your friend that if you tell them your secrets, they're not going to go immediately run out and tell somebody else. But do you need a handbook? No, you don't.
Right.
These are things that come naturally to us, and it does with mentoring too.
Huh. So the fear then. So I'm trying to put myself in this position. Like, oh, mentoring is easy, but the fear is not meeting expectations.
That's because you're thinking of it like you're a coach,
Yeah, that's exactly right.
and you're not. You're there on an emotional journey with somebody to get them where they want to go. And that may be
Yeah.
to make $1 million company, and you're going to be there. And if they don't do it, you're still going to be there. If they
Right.
do it, you're still there. If you're a coach and they don't make it, there's failure. There's never failure in mentoring.
And part of the mentoring may be they want to get from X to Z, and part of that mentoring may be to find them a good mentor to get to Z, because I might not be the right one.
Mentoring, exactly. So mentoring can be a one-off. I could go in and I could say, Jeff, show me the lay of the land of this place. Show me the lay of the land of entrepreneur organization. Tell me what that's like. And you could say, okay, I'll do that. And then I could say, here's what I'm looking for now that I know the lay of the land. And you say, oh, go talk to Barry over there. Barry will tell you. And then I meet with Barry, and Barry gets me to the next level. And then Barry says, oh, Susan can get you to the next one. Or, so a lot of people think you've got to carry that person their whole way through, and that you are their one person. But for mentorship, you should have hundreds of mentors. You should think of mentorship as limitless. You
Yeah.
don't want to have 100 coaches. You'll go crazy. You
Right.
want one coach, and you should have a coach. Coaching is great. It is important and it's necessary, but you should have multiple mentors, and especially if you are an entrepreneur, because everything that's entrepreneurial doesn't, you don't have a boss. Who do you
Right.
look to? You look to somebody to your left or to your right. If you're a software engineer, you're saying, hey, hardware engineer, I need some guidance from you so I can move my product in a new level. The United States was founded on all lateral mentors, a whole bunch of guys that got together and they were like, hey, let's make a country. And they did. Nobody was the boss until they elected one. But that is how all of tech has happened. That is how all of entrepreneurship happens, is lateral mentorship, which is the impact that comes from the expertise around you that lifts you up.
Okay. Yeah. So, all right. So that is starting to make sense to me. And yeah, you talked about having multiple coaches is way different, because you have a coach, you have 5 different coaches for golf. Each one's going to say, oh, no, don't swing that way. Swing this way. Then you go to the next coach. It's like, no, you should swing that way. Okay. So your specialty is in like midlife and aging, right? How does that play into to mentorship? Like, is there a way to be mentored on what to expect as you age?
Yeah, there is. I and I actually learned a lot. I learned the hard way about that. I was studying everything no one wants to have or get. Like depression and frailty and end of life stuff. I was like not the life of a party. And then, and true to form, I went to a dinner party and somebody said to me, oh my gosh, what do we have to look forward to? You're just putting a band-aid on all the horrible things we have to look forward to. And so I had an epiphany and I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. What do I have to look forward to? I should at least be looking at what I want to look forward to. So I had to look back at the lifespan, and the way most of us look at life is a physical trajectory, a steep incline and then a slow, steady decline. And that's why we're all not eager to talk to an aging specialist, because that scares us to think about that.
Right.
But what most of us don't realize is we have an emotional trajectory that happens at the same time. And that happens at birth, and it goes all the way up to the end of life. And that goes up and it never goes down. So in midlife, you can expect to be happier at 50 than you were at 20. So you can't run as fast. You might need reading glasses, but you're happier. So even if your physical trajectory is going down, you can still expect your emotional trajectory to continue going up. And that was something that was a really amazing learning lesson for me. There's tons of research out there on it. And mentoring is right in that midlife stage. That's kind of the turning point when we say, ooh, I've been taking in all of this stuff all of my life, expertise, values, culture, whatever my job is, all of that stuff. And then you're saying, uh-oh, I've just checked a ton of boxes. Now what? Do I just check more the rest of my life? Am I just going to look for more boxes to keep checking? When
Yeah.
we do that, we end up like Ebenezer Scrooge, where we're on paper looking like we have all of the things we need, but we're emotionally miserable.
Yeah.
But when we hit midlife and we have a desire to be generative, which is giving back, so that's volunteering, philanthropy, and mentoring. And once we engage in that, we start to feel useful, relevant. Our our footprint feels deeper. We feel like we matter in the world. That being on the in the world was a good thing, and that's where our emotional level really starts to keep going up.
Okay, so I'm just throwing this out there. I'm genuinely curious. I wonder if that comes from a place of, as we age, we quit worrying about what people think of us. We quit worrying about getting kicked out of the group, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah,
So that lends
absolutely.
to our happiness.
It does. When you're young and you're in the identity stage, you're looking
Hmm.
around you and you're saying, like when you're really young, you're like, "Ooh, what clothes do I wear so I fit in?
Yeah.
Do I have the right
Yeah.
shoes? Do I have
Yep.
the right shirt?" Then
Right.
it's, am I in the right job? Now that I'm in the job, am I getting the right car? Am I getting the right house? Am I doing
Yep.
it? You're really comparing yourself to the Joneses. By the time you hit
Yeah.
midlife, you're like, yeah, whatever. Joneses, schmoneses. And then you're out for yourself and really relying on what you've gained and how you can make that a fulfilling thing for you moving forward.
Oh, that's fascinating. So then the ideal thing would be for me to mentor someone in their 20s. Like, hey, by the time you get to my age, you're not going to give a shit about what anyone thinks. So you'll be much happier.
Exactly. I tell all my students who are 20, um, hey, look, you can all outrun me, but and you don't wear reading glasses most likely, but I'm happier than you. And they're always curious about that. But it's true. And when we're mentoring people, and it's helpful to someone being mentored to know that in midlife and later, you're not unhappy, because that's the picture that we all have, that as we
Oh, yeah.
age and decline, that we should expect to feel depressed, that we should expect to be someone who's out of shape and achy, and our back hurts and that we just want to sit down. um so mentoring the younger generation gives hope to them that we're not going to live like that.
Right. So what makes a good mentor? I mean, other than just volunteering your time, like what makes them good?
So there is no good mentor or bad mentor. There's only mentor or not mentor. So there
Okay.
could be a good and bad coach. Like there could be a coach who, doesn't vibe with you in some way, but mentorship cuts out. If all of those things are not there, if any one of them isn't there, it's not
Oh,
mentorship. So
there's
people will say, "Oh, I have a toxic mentor." That's not a mentor. You should have no one toxic in your life that you say, "This is my guide." Like,
right.
cut that out. Just stop. You could say I have a coach who yells at me to get me farther.
Are you feeling stuck? Overwhelmed? It's like you're fighting against something that you can't even see or name. I've been there, literally. I survived sudden cardiac death and I rebuilt everything. I've mastered the art of controlling the chaos. Now I coach a small group of high performers that are willing to do the work to do the same thing. No fluff, no excuses, we just get results. If you're ready to take back control, apply now at jeffluther.com. This is all can, no can.
Further in a fitness thing, that's the kind I like. I like somebody to be like, stop slacking, right? But I don't want that as my mentor. I want somebody who is actually genuinely emotionally on the journey with me, that is like, I want to see you succeed in whatever it is that you need. And the goal could be ever changing, but the goal is there for me emotionally, versus if I say I want to go lose 10 pounds and I go to work out somewhere and I say, you get me to my goal by the end of this month and I don't care how you do it, then that's coaching.
Right. Different.
I may never see that person again. I may not feel connected to that person again. Do I think coaches aren't needed and important? Absolutely. But a mentor is a different thing.
Yep. Yeah, this is fascinating to me because I thought a mentor was just a different word for coach, and it's clearly not.
And most people will say, well, I'm a coach and a mentor. And I tell people, don't say that, because then you're not allowing yourself to get a mentor. You think you have all of your everything covered by one person, and we can never have everything covered by one person.
Right. Agreed.
It has to be, by multiple people in our lives.
Yeah. Okay, so you're an expert, like mentorship, you're clearly passionate about. You're an expert on aging. It sounds to me like there's probably a way to bring generations together to work to solve challenges. How do you do that? Because I can't solve challenges with my 19-year-old kid, and I know he loves me.
I have a 19-year-old also. That is a challenge all in itself. They need lateral mentors at that age, or non-parental mentors. So my 19-year-old, he actually has a mentor with the Mentor Project who is not me, because we can't mentor our children. Grandparents can be mentors, but we really are not the best at mentoring our children. They need someone other than us. There's too much stuff in the middle of that. But and we're not intrinsically motivated with them. We
that's
have
true.
Our own stuff that's all in that. But look, it is so important to be a mentor multi-generationally, and I'm going to put it out there for advertising or something like that.
Please,
and maybe you would have a better idea in terms of entrepreneurship. But say I wanted to sell some kind of widget or whatever to someone outside. I'm in Gen X, someone outside of the Gen X generation. I better get that viewpoint of whoever I'm trying to sell that to, and they are the expert in that. And we often see people not doing that, and then they wonder why they're not having good sales. They're not getting, if they're not seeing, why are the generations that are younger not meshing well in the new company? Well, who are you relying on to find out what their needs are, or how they view things, or how they're seeing what their perspective is? So I see that a lot of generations think, well, my generation thinks of it all just right. The others are not seeing it correctly. And that's when we saw the term okay boomer come out, because there was just like, come on, you're not listening to me, you're not hearing me. And then we saw it go in both directions, and that became like a meme out there. So people are screaming for intergenerational understanding, and it really requires that you see that there is expertise in that other generation.
Yeah. Now, have you found, and I don't know if I'm so curious about this, I don't know how to ask this, but have you found that there's more, let me use the word tolerance, more of a tolerance from the older generation to tolerate the younger generation's viewpoint, or the younger to tolerate the older viewpoint, or is it the same?
No, no one wants to tolerate anyone's.
Okay.
Um, so that's why it's so important to get intergenerational. I talk about this sometimes with my students, and they are pretty much like, "Well, we feel unheard by you, therefore we're shutting you off." And so, if you are thinking, "Well,
Wait, wait,
you're
wait, wait,
just an
wait.
older
Let me
version
back
of
up.
my parents, and I don't want to hear any more that feels like lecturing." So that's really where I'm hearing it. And this is anecdotal, but for the most part, we need to open those areas of dialogue and hear what people are saying. And that can be done through mentorship because you're forming a connection with someone. You're not saying, now we're going to get you to this stage, we're going to get you to do
Right.
this next thing. You're saying, okay, where are you with this? Okay,
Yeah.
I hear where you are with that. Okay, let me see if I can give you some guidance based on what I've done. That's way different than, me saying, okay, I'm going to tell you the 10 things you need to do right now to get to the next level.
Right.
They have a different feel, and that's how you can merge it and have a better emotional understanding of the other generation.
Yeah. And I wanted to back up. So did your students actually say that to you? Or is that just the sentiment? Hey, we feel like your generation doesn't even hear us, so we're just going to tune you out.
Oh, that every semester my students say that for the past 7 years. Yeah, they have been
7 years.
saying that. So,
Okay.
that developmentally, when a person is in that identity stage and you're in that in your teen years and all the way up into your 20s, you're really in that. You are trying to figure out who you are. And it can often feel like, when you have a boss, when you have a parent, when you have other people who are in charge of you, that you're only listening to orders from people as opposed to someone saying, let's have a collaborative viewpoint on
Yeah.
something.
Yep. Yeah. I just did a talk on that for this women's council about asking deeper questions, and it was because of an issue that came up with my oldest son, and I knew that he had a problem. I couldn't get him to answer me because I would ask him like, "Are you okay?" "Yes." "Okay, good." And so finally, I was like, "Okay, we have to collaborate here. Let's talk." So that's interesting, and totally not related to the topic. So sorry.
No, there is a relation to the topic. It's conversations. And a lot of it is, when we have kids, we are coming at it from a position of, I need to get this information out because I care about you so much. I'm going to just try to get this information out. And it's frustrating for both kids and parents in many different ways. So that's why it's often best just to step back and say, you know what, I need a mentor elsewhere, or I need somebody
Yeah.
else to talk to. I need a different viewpoint, or for them to hear it differently.
Right.
That's why when my kids were in middle school, I took all the time to drive them everywhere because they
Yeah.
sat in the back of the car and I learned everything you ever wanted to
Yep.
know about what was happening everywhere in every single person's life in their
Yep.
schools and sports.
Yeah.
So, and that's because they weren't talking to me, they were talking to each other, and I was like irrelevant. So,
Yep.
that's how kids are built to be. They're not doing
Yeah.
it on purpose.
Right. Yeah. And part of mine with my son, part of my surface level questioning was fear of what he was going to tell me. Then I have the answer, and then I got to do something about it. So, and I'm not bragging about that, but
You're not alone in that. If there's
yeah,
a parent listening, literally every parent has been through that. That's so
yeah.
common and typical. We've all been there.
So have any of your kids said to you, "Thanks, Boomer"? Have you gotten that yet?
Thankfully not, and they know I'm not a boomer,
Yeah.
so yet, but I have had a lot of students who have really said to me, "Thank you. You've made me see things differently."
Oh
And
wow. Oh, that's fulfilling.
it's really fulfilling. I can't tell you how fulfilling. And, several of them have become mentees or have become involved in the mentor project. That to me is the biggest validation because they have to
Yeah.
see me outside of class and outside of being graded. And they'll even sometimes wait until after school is over. But I I received one year. the students gave me a plant and a card, and I was like, wow, like that never happens in colleges. Like I've really had a lot of really good feedback, and so I feel very grateful and very fortunate for that.
Oh, that's really cool. That's fun. All right. So where do folks find you? They can learn more about this at mentorproject.org, right?
Hmm.
Where
Yeah.
else would you send them?
And I wanted to say that the mentorship is free. If you are a student, you get to be mentored by the top people, top 1%. So astronauts, astrophysicists, artists, seven-time Nobel laureate nominee. We have some top individuals who are mentoring, and we last year gave away $3 million worth of mentorship hours to students in 5 countries. So, you know, don't waste an opportunity to get really amazing
Holy
mentorship.
cow. How are you getting these people? Because you're not paying them.
No,
No, because we already
wouldn't be
didn't wouldn't
mentoring.
be mentored. How are you getting them to do it for free?
So
At no charge. At no charge.
the interesting thing is, we didn't know we would. This was an organically built organization that was just built to see if generativity really works, if that developmental stage is actually real. And so it started with Bill Cheswick, who's one of the fathers of the network firewall, which is how we're communicating now. He did all the internet security through Bell Labs back in the day. And he said, I'm retiring and I'm going to be living on a farm. I'm going to have no access to anyone. I'm going to feel completely useless and irrelevant. So we were like, all right, let's see if we can get Bill in schools. So we started to
Right.
do that. And we were just a few of us. And then we were like, this is fun. Let's make a company. We hit the stage where we were like, we should probably get insurance and form an actual company.
Yeah.
So we did that. And somebody came to me and they said, you know what? You are never going to get more people. No one who's successful is going to want to give away their time for free. They were thinking of Starbucks, like how that is. But within
Yeah.
6 months, we had 60 people sign up. And I wasn't on the phone like, hey, want to mentor? They were calling and saying, or
Oh
contacting and saying,
wow.
can I mentor? Then it went to 80, then it went to 100. So we had people come through our doors within a year. I was completely sleepless for months because we were onboarding people. They have to go through a really extensive onboarding also. We don't just say, okay, good. They have to get a background check. They go through like a multi-page onboarding thing. And we had all these people who came on. We have had such amazing things that have come out of this, but people, the mentors, feel most connected also with the fellow mentors. We have like a Fridays with
Yeah.
Fred, and Fred, one of our mentors, runs a group, and we've had two mentors form a company out of that Friday. Like one Friday we had a meeting, by Monday they had a company. We've had people co-author books, articles. They've done all kinds of things. Mentors stay at each other's houses and visit each other all around the country. And that was what we found, is that it's a really amazing resource for the mentors, for connection, for feeling relevant, validated, useful. I write about that in the book because Alan Zweibel, who was one of the first comedy writers for Saturday Night Live, like he was in that SNL movie. Um, they characterized him, but he said, "I need to feel relevant." And he's the one who mentored Judd Apatow to become who he is. And he was like, I need to continue to feel relevant. Mentoring is going to get me there. And so we have all of these people who have said, this gives me the grounding and makes me feel like I matter.
Oh, that's fascinating. And I'm stuck on the fact that you're taking like the top 1% and telling them, hey, you're cute and all, but you need to figure out, we need to teach you how to do this correctly. Like,
We don't teach them. So, but we do say, if you're here for something else, you get kicked out. If you're here to
wow.
hang around and you want to just, who doesn't like to sit around and like hang out with an astronaut or hang out with, a famous
Right.
comedy writer? If you're
Yeah.
there for that, bye. If you are there to elevate your own self, you won't last long. So we've
Right.
had very few that have had to be asked to leave. Most people are there because they get that feeling that you get when you give at a soup kitchen, that feeling that
Yeah.
at the end of the day you feel like I feel so good about myself, as opposed to giving at a Starbucks. So
Yeah.
they stay. Mentors stay, and they'll say, I need more hours. They don't say, can I do less? They say, can I do more?
Wow. It's so interesting. It's so fun. Um, can you tell me a little more about your book?
Sure.
I mean,
So
I
the
hope
book,
so. You wrote it, right? That was kind of a dumb
yeah,
question. Like,
yeah. So the book was written because I was really getting tired of people talking about mentorship in a way that wasn't accurate, and people misunderstanding mentorship, so they didn't see the value in it for giving or receiving. Like, people were like, I don't need a mentor, I got this on my own. Well,
hmm,
you're not going to get far, because there's no, if you look at any of the innovations that have happened, it wasn't a guy or a woman, it was multiple people. So I wanted to give a real definition of what it is, and then to talk about lateral mentoring, which is a term that I coined after going to a hackers convention and seeing all of the people who had been huge innovators like Bill Cheswick and others who've done amazing world changing things, and learning that they just do this naturally. Entrepreneurs also, you just turn to your left, you turn to your right, and you're like, mentors aplenty. You're not shy about asking for help. You say, hey, can you give me some advice? Can you give me some guidance? And that's how things have an explosive impact. So I wanted to talk about that because most people think mentoring is only for work, and it's for you to get a rung up on the ladder. And that's the least effective, least impactful form of mentorship
yeah.
that exists. So I was in the book showing how Charlie Camarda was saved in space by a lateral mentor. How, you know, Alan Zweibel felt relevant. How Bill Cheswick felt useful, how everyone was able to use their mentorship to feel amazing, how grandmas raise their grandchildren to have the values that they want to instill in them, how tradition is one of the things that we really latch onto and need, as it's a grounding factor in our lives. We're never going to remember an accountant in 300 years, but we'll probably have our religion passed down.
Right.
So it's all of these things that are around us. And when we can acknowledge it, it makes us feel better because we can say, wow, I can't believe how far I got with Jim mentoring me. Wow, I feel so great that Susie took my advice and I was able to guide her to the next level. It
Yeah.
makes us feel good. And oftentimes we don't acknowledge what we've done or what we've received. And that makes it all kind of lay flat.
Right.
And so the book tells what it is, what it isn't, and gives real life stories.
Okay. It's super fun. This has been so fun and so enlightening, actually. I had no idea. Thank you for carving out some time to chat with me.
Thanks for having me. I'm delighted to be here, and this was a fun conversation.
Yeah, is there anything else we should know?
Just look to your left and look to your right. You're looking at a mentor.
I know. Like, that's when you just said that, I'm like, you know what? That is so true. It's so true. That's like, I mean, I'm in that entrepreneur world, and that's what happens. Like, mess makers, magic makers, just depends on the day. All right. Thanks a ton. I appreciate it. And tell me the name of your book.
The Mentorship Edge. And if you
Okay.
like to listen to your book, if you're a podcast listener and you like to listen to things, it's available on audiobook.
Oh, nice. Okay. The Mentorship Edge and mentorproject.org is where people can find more information. Are you social? Do you want people to follow you on LinkedIn or anything?
Yeah, sure. I'm on LinkedIn. Um, Instagram, any of those places. I'm
Are
around.
you
I
are you doing a
and
bunch
I
of
write for
TikTok videos
Psychology
for
Today.
us?
What's that?
Are you doing a bunch of TikTok videos for us? Should we go find
I
you on
do have
TikTok?
some. I do not, I have someone who makes them for me based on the videos that are out there that have been created with me in them. So you will not see me dancing, but yeah, I have a TikTok account, but I also write for Psychology Today and I'm on Substack. So if you like to read, those are other places to learn more about aging and mentoring.
The topic is interesting to me, for sure. Psychology, it's just another thing to learn for me. Like it's hard, but your specific niche is fun to me.
Oh, very cool. I'm glad to hear
Yeah.
that. Most people run away when they hear aging.
No, I mean, you got to face your fears.
That's right. Exactly.
All right. This has been the All Can No Can't podcast, and Debbie, thanks so much for chatting with us. And until next time, keep finding those opportunities and the obstacles that you see. Thanks for listening to All Can, No Can't. If today's episode resonated with you, remember it's not about the chaos you face. It's about how you choose to take back control. It's about finding that one small can in the can't you're given and grinding it down. Find your angle, carve your place out in the world, and get the fucking win. Do that by finding what you can do and not listening to what you can't. You choose. Be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review. Your support helps me reach more people that are ready to embrace the all-can mindset. And it lets them know there's someone that's willing to walk with them no matter how dark the path gets. You can find me on Insta at JDLuther 2.0 and allcan_no-can't. This is where I share more tips, stories, inspiration to help fuel your journey. And until next time, keep pushing boundaries, breaking limits, proving to yourself that anything is possible, even when you're told it isn't. Remember, life's not about can't. It's all can. Go prove them wrong.